So there's a common theme that I've noticed with the people I've been working with on Marco Polo, and that is that um, women who have dated male avoidants, when it comes to confrontation or conflict, the male avoidant tends to be more kind of introverted and resigned, almost like they are so scared of the confrontation. Like they literally think like you having a stern tone of voice, like you're yelling at them, like they're very kind of frightened of it. Like you're this big mean lady, that's like punishing them in school or something. And then men who are dating female avoidance, and of course this stuff is not true all across the board. It's just kind of a pattern I've been seeing. Men who date female avoidance, the female avoidants are more kind of irritated and annoyed that the men are being so emotional. Stop being so reactive, stop being so emotional. Men aren't even supposed to be like that. Why are you bringing this up all the time? Like, you're just way too emotional for a man. Just stop. And as a fearful avoidant myself, and this is why I'm taking myself out of the dating pool, because I noticed that this is true for me. When I was kind of in a thing with an anxious person, what I felt, was, oh my God, this person is so fucking intense. This person is so emotional. They are extremely sensitive to things that I say. We always have to have these very long, arguments or conversations about things, and they just kind of go on, and it's exhausting, and it's making me almost lose respect for this person, because why are they acting so sensitive like this all the time? And I think there's two parts of this, and I think both people in a way are contributing. And that's not to say that I'm just turning on the heat in my car. 1 second. Okay. That's not to say that if you're an anxious attacher that this is somehow your fault. It is absolutely not your fault, okay? But what happens inside of these relationships is that the avoidant is triggering the anxious person's wounds, but the anxious person is also triggering the avoidance wounds. And so both people are triggering each other. And we walk away feeling like, oh my God, they were so neglectful. And they were. Like, they were neglecting my needs. They were doing this, they were doing that. The avoidant walks away feeling like, oh my God, that was so intense. That was so exhausting. I never want to do that again, And it's not about fault finding. It's just about looking at the actual reality of two people with insecure attachment getting into a relationship and triggering each other the entire time. If you're an anxious attacher, like, this is not a character defect. It's not like you were born being overly reactive, overly sensitive, overly emotional. Like, yeah, you might be an emotional person. I'm a Cancer, I'm emotional, I'm sensitive, but I'm normal. Like, I'm not like going around sobbing everywhere I go, But when I'm in a relationship with an avoidant person, when they start to trigger my deeper wounds, that's when my anxious nature really comes out. And I will be very reactive, and I will be extremely emotional, and I will try to use them to regulate my emotions, which is not okay. Like, it's just simply not useful. It's not healthy. What I should be striving for is to get to the point where if I'm in a relationship with someone that is neglecting me and not meeting my needs over and over, instead of becoming reactive and emotional and destroying myself in the process, I need to set a hard boundary and say, look, you're neglecting me. I don't want to be in a relationship with someone that's neglecting me, so I'm simply going to be walking away. And if you want to work on your end of the deal, let me know. But instead, I will stay in the relationship hoping that something will change, and if I just say or do the right thing, that it'll fix it. But the problem is, once you are triggered into your anxiousness, that is deeply triggering to the avoidant. And I've been on both sides of it, so I know exactly how it feels from both sides of it. And when you are avoidant and you are dealing with a triggered anxious person, it is truly exhausting. It feels truly intense. The level of intensity is very much. And that's not the anxious person's fault. It's also not the avoidant's fault for feeling overwhelmed and engulfed in that moment, because the avoidant also has wounds that are being triggered. The avoidant person is being triggered in that moment. So when you are coming off very intense and very emotional, it feels impossible for the avoidant person to be able to witness that and to be able to hear you, because all they're feeling is triggered. Like, they just want to run away because it's so debilitating for them to be able to be around that, like, it is triggering them. And this is why people in general, no matter what attachment style you have, need to be working towards secure attachment, because otherwise, like, it's just this endless loop. If you have insecure attachment, you're going to keep attracting partners that have the opposite attachment style, and both of you are just going to trigger each other the whole time. And you're going to end up so devastated when the relationship ends. And you know, the avoidant person is often devastated too, but they don't really know why they feel the way they do. So they're just looking for ways to like cover it up and avoid it. All they know is that they're triggered and they just need to get the fuck out of there because they can't deal with it anymore. So anyway, I hope that made some sense, and I hope you guys don't feel like I'm blaming anxious people. I am anxious. I have been in this position more times than I can count. I am usually always the anxious one in relationships. And it wasn't until I ended up with an anxious person that I was really able to see what that triggered behavior looks like and feels like to someone. And I think as anxious people, that is something we all need to work on. We need to work on learning how to regulate our own emotions, learning how to set hard boundaries, you know, learning how to follow our gut and really notice red flags and set those boundaries early on instead of, you know, falling in love with potential or, you know, sweeping things under the rug, hoping that we can fix it later on. We can't. We're not magic. We don't have superpowers.